Okay, so this is actual sunlight shining down on my poly system with the bleached front hairline. Now I haven't done any maintenance on this except for just snipping off that front part. That was something that I was experimenting on because I had this shiny bit down the front here that was visible, and so I cut it back, and now it's so close to the hairline that nobody would even be able to tell. So I can see now if I lift that up, there's some blue shining down underneath there. Maybe just because I pulled it back a bit. So maybe I do have to do occasional maintenance on this, but it's only because I pulled it back. And I guess only from a certain angle can you see that. Otherwise I'd say this is pretty fucking good. Like, this is the best hairpiece ever, man. I can't believe how low maintenance this is. I would happily wear a motorcycle helmet, jump out of a plane, dive headfirst into a pool. It is sensational. 0.03mm poly has V-loops which look like absolute shit. But when you bleach the front hairline, you can't tell anymore. And it's got a thick enough density, this piece at least, from Lord Hair. It is the best hairpiece. Due to all the shit that goes on with unbleached knots from Lord Hair, I wouldn't recommend buying their lace. But the poly's fine so long as you know the trick. And that is, cut your piece out using your stencil, put it on your head, or pre-bleach it, only at the roots. You don't want to bleach all the front of the hair. This is really applying for anybody who's got a paler skin than hair. If you've got darker skin than hair, like a black man with white hair or something, I don't know, doesn't seem to happen that often. A tanned man with blonde hair. It's a little bit backwards in terms of people's mentality. It's almost like you've got the camera in reverse. Even most black people would have darker hair than skin, or same colour. In which case, you wouldn't have to be this exact with it, because the unbleached knots are dark, but your skin is black. If you're dark brown, you probably still need to bleach the knots. But if you're black, like if you're ebony, then you probably have got the easiest job in the world. You guys don't have to worry about doing any of this stuff. I mean, it's just going to be super easy for you. But for people with pale skin, it's the hardest. And this system, poly, with the V-loops, even though the V-loops do suck, even though I'm smart, I got 148 IQ. So that got me into Mensa, right? So, well, at least 148, that's the minimum entry requirement. They don't tell you what score you got. So, you just take a poly hairpiece with the V-loops. It looks like shit across the front. You put in this stuff, blonding peroxide, right? You stick it in there. If you don't have the adverse reactions, you won't get these little bleeding chemical burns like I did. So you do it on the table, and then you wash it off, and then you put it on your head. And it just looks so good. In sunshine, obviously sunshine's the biggest test. You sleep all night, it goes like this, right? You're pushing it all around. You can see how hard I'm pushing that, right? You messed up your hair, but now I'm just tugging that. And now I've tugged on it a bit too much, probably, because I've just shown a little bit of that, but my head is, so you can see the tuggage that I'm doing at the moment. It's quite a lot. I mean, the glue isn't not made out of magical elixir. It's made out of acrylic substance. Walker Ultra Hold, the glue that I despised, has now paid off, because when it's hidden underneath the poly skin, you can't see what's going on. But just like I responded to a commenter on a video I released earlier today, and look how easily it styles back into position. It's just really amazing. If you have, mine goes only back to here, right? Back to here, and that's where my natural hair starts there. But if you wear a full piece that goes all around the back, if it's summertime, I imagine that you will probably need to put fork holes through it, prongs of the fork through it to make the plastic open up so that heat can escape. And I've heard people say that they would put, obviously real glue along the front and then use tape around the back and sides, the whole perimeter, and then one line down the middle of tape. But that'll be like plastic rubbing against your scalp. That'll be disgusting and sweaty and gross. I don't think anybody would want to feel that feeling, so I recommend paste this down all over. This is my guess. Paste that all over, the whole head or the whole hair piece. You can pre-glue this stuff, right? Then put the hairpiece with the holes. The holes will be so small that the glue probably won't pass through. It definitely wouldn't if it's just resting down like that. It wouldn't. It's got the holes in it already for the heat to escape. Then put the whole thing down and the heat can then escape through the poly. If there isn't glue all over, I can imagine that when you have a shower, the water will seep in through those holes and you'll have like this little jubbly water, basically feeding ground for bacteria to live in there. So I think really you've got to give full coverage with the glue, then just do little heat chimneys with the prongs of a fork. Now you don't want to do it so much that all the hair's starting to rip out or that the glue's shining through. So test it a little bit. You might have to use something like a pin instead. But you still want it big enough so that the plastic doesn't just seal shut, because you can imagine how tight it could get to seal back those holes. The amount of shine there, I think I can probably just solve it just by rubbing my finger along there like that. But definitely no neat reason to pick it out, because it's simply such a tight fit that it just doesn't escape. And the blonding of the front hairline there doesn't look completely blonde. I think this was about 15-20 minutes of peroxide along the front. Actually, it was about 10 minutes, I think, because that's right, I started feeling that burning sensation. I ripped it off. But this was the one after, wasn't it? At any rate, it was obviously not the maximum exposure time. If you left it for 45 minutes, maybe that would give a better effect or a worse effect, I'm not sure. You can play with that a little bit. But definitely you'll need to bleach along the front to get rid of that ugly V-loop barricade of hair that comes with the hairpiece by default. Now, is this the final answer? Yes, it fucking is. It's not the final answer. It is the best technology available in the world today for wearing hair. Now people say, why don't you just get a chunk of meat sliced out of the back of your neck and have some doctor implant 4 hairs at a time or something into little tufts that come out like I'm growing a fucking garden on my forehead. Why the fuck do you think? Because it looks like shit, that's why. Hair transplants look like a dog that you found in Southeast Asia that cars' tires just rub up against as they go past at full speed, and they're looking for scraps. That's what it looks like. If somebody's walking around that I know, that has a full hair transplant, that would shock me to find that out. I think there's no chance somebody could be walking around who I've met who has had a hair transplant that I didn't know about. Do you honestly think there's somebody you know who's had a hair transplant and you couldn't detect it? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks.